Hello, scientific writers! This video is on setting your writing goals or any other kind of goal. Now, I recorded this whole video with my camera on, but for some reason it didn't record. You're just going to see my slides and hear my voice. Well, let's get started. I'm recording this in early January. This is the time of year where people typically look back on their previous year and they start thinking about what's coming up in the next year. And so this is a great time to make goals. Now, if you're watching this at some other time of the year, that's okay. You can make goals at any time. So as we go through this video, I'm going to give you a step-by-step process for setting goals. What I'm encouraging you to do as you watch this video is, after each step, pause the video, take out a pen and paper, and write down what I tell you to work on. Now, if you follow these steps and you do the exercises during the video, at the end you're going to have a really good, well thought out goal, and you'll have an action plan on how to achieve that goal. First, let's talk about why you should set a goal. Well, the theory behind setting a goal is that the desire and the intention to reach the goal is a key source of motivation. So simply by having a goal, you're going to be more motivated to work towards that goal, as compared to if you did not sit down and set the goal and you were trying to accomplish the same thing. Making it into a goal is going to give you motivation. It's going to make you more excited about doing the tasks that are going to build up to the goal. And it's a way a lot of professionals get through their work and advance their careers by setting goals and achieving goals. Step one is to write down a goal you want to achieve. Now, it's really important that you write it on paper. So when I say write down a goal, I don't mean type it into your computer. I mean get out a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil and write it down. Handwriting it is going to solidify the ideas in your subconscious mind much more powerfully and successfully than if you type it into your computer. So writing it down by hand is really important. Pause the video here and write down a goal you want to achieve. And then start the video again when you're done with that step. Okay, now that you have written down a goal, let's step back and think about some concepts that are related to goals. What's the difference between a wish and a dream and a goal? How are those three things different? Well, a wish is, just something you wish would happen. I wish somebody would give me $1 million, right? I wish I could publish a paper in Nature. A wish is just something that's hopeful, but you don't really expect it to happen. It's just, wouldn't that be wonderful if that happened? Now, a dream is something that you want to happen and you believe it could happen, but you don't really have an action plan or a way to achieve it, right? It's more out of grasp. Whereas a goal is going to be something that's very specific. I've heard it said it's a dream with a plan. So you have this dream to publish in Nature. What if you make that a goal?
Don't let your dreams be dreams.
If you make that a goal, then you're going to start taking action to achieve that goal. So a dream becomes a goal. What about a goal and an objective? I hear people using these terms interchangeably, but they're not the same. They mean different things. So the goal is your achievable outcome that is more broad and it's more long-term. Whereas the objectives are the short-term, smaller components that are measurable actions that you're going to take to achieve the goal. So you take your goal and you break it down into objectives, and then you decide what tasks you need to take to complete those objectives. Once you complete all the objectives, you will have accomplished the goal. And I spoke earlier about motivation. There is extrinsic motivation and there's intrinsic motivation. What are the difference between those? Extrinsic motivation is motivation from an external source, like your advisor telling you you have to complete this task by a certain date. So you're motivated by pleasing that external person. If you're just trying to take your classes to get a certain grade, that's an extrinsic motivation. Whereas an intrinsic motivation is something coming from inside you. It's internally driven. You want to achieve that task, not just because you're told to do it, but because you're going to get some satisfaction and accomplishment for achieving that. You don't care about the grade in the course, but you make A's anyway because you're intrinsically motivated to learn as much as possible. Intrinsically motivated goals are much better than extrinsically motivated goals. Now, if you're in grad school or doing a postdoc, chances are the reason you're doing that is to get a certain kind of job that's going to make you feel accomplished and happy. Well, what are the factors that lead to job satisfaction? Opportunities to learn, opportunities to increase responsibility, opportunities to contribute to others, and to be recognized for your achievements. So these are some things to keep in mind as you're setting your goals. Time for step 2. So I want you to look at the goal you wrote down in step 1 and compare that to some thoughts about yourself. So I want you to think about yourself for a few minutes and answer these 5 questions. What are 3 ways that you want to be described by other people? What are your top 3 values? What are 3 things that you are really good at? What are 3 things that you really enjoy? And lastly, if you could spend your time in any way that you wanted to, what 3 things would you do the most? If you write down lay on the beach all day, you might think you want to do that, but after 3 or 4 days, it's not going to be that much fun, because you want to keep in mind those factors that we just discussed that lead to satisfaction. Write down answers to these questions and then start the video again. All right, so step 3 is to go back to the goal that you wrote down now that you've done step 2 and ask yourself, do you want to revise the goal? If you do, go ahead and revise it now. Make a new version of that goal and then start the video again. For step 4, go back and look at your newest goal and ask this question. Is it specific? How do you know if it's specific? Well, it needs to be something that you'll be able to measure to know that you are moving towards the goal. Also, you want to ask yourself, what are the metrics of success to know that you have reached the goal? So it needs to be specific and it needs to be measurable. If it's not both specific and measurable, stop the video and revise it. Step 5, once you've made sure your goal is specific and measurable, let's look at it again and ask yourself, is it attainable? So an ideal goal is going to be difficult, but attainable or possible. But don't make it too easy. So it needs to be hard, it needs to be a challenge, it needs to stretch your abilities and be something that you're going to be proud of. Don't make it too easy. If it's not attainable or if it's too easy, this is the time to revise it. Step 6, go back and look at the newest version of your goal and ask yourself this question. Is it relevant to your career path or to your life direction? And is it relevant to your values? How will achieving this goal improve your life and move you forward? So if you have decided to set a goal that's not going to move you forward towards your career path or life direction, then it's not relevant. So if it's not relevant, you need to go back to step 1 and choose some goal that is relevant. Pause, make sure you think about that, and then start the video again. Step 7, take a look at your newest goal. When do you plan to achieve this goal? So you need to have a specific deadline at some point in the future. So it needs to have a time component. I'm going to achieve this goal within 6 months or at a certain date. If it doesn't, at this point, now is the time to add it and then start the video again. Now take a look at the goal you have written. Congratulations, you have made a SMART goal. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Now we're going to move on to step 8 and think about the SMART goal very carefully. Look at what you wrote down and think, is it making me excited to think about achieving this goal? Is it motivating me right now? Is it something that you want to do, or is it something that you feel like is something that you should do, that someone else is expecting you to do, or something that you have to do anyway, and you don't really care about it, you just know that you have to do it? This is really important. If it's not exciting and motivating, you might want to rethink that goal. So write down why you want to achieve this goal. If you're having trouble explaining why you want to do the goal, if you're having trouble getting excited about it, you really need to rethink the goal, because it's not going to motivate you like a good goal should. It's not intrinsically motivating you. If it's not exciting to you and it's something you feel like you should do, that's probably an extrinsically driven goal. Pause the video, take 3 or 4 minutes to think about this. Take longer if you need to make some revisions at this point. And then start the video again and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so for step number 9, you should have a final compelling SMART goal at this point. So you've already written down why you want to achieve this goal. Now to help you really solidify it and make it even more motivating, write down how you're going to feel when you accomplish this goal, or how your life is going to improve once you achieve this goal. All right, so we have set the goal. So now it's time to make a plan to achieve the goal. So your plan needs to have a strategy, a structure, and the correct environment. Let's break those down step by step. So step 10 in the process is to make a strategy. What steps will you need to take to reach the goal? Think about where you are now and where the goal is, and all of the steps in between until you reach that goal. There's probably a lot of steps. So think about it in as much detail as you can and write down all of those steps. And then once you've written down all the steps, you can organize those and break down your goal into specific smaller sub-goals. And these are going to be your objectives. So pause the video, take as much time as you need to figure out all of the steps that you need to take. Now don't let that overwhelm you. We're going to make a plan to get through all those steps. But you need to think about all those steps in order to make the plan. So do that now and then start the video again. Step 11 is to think about all the barriers or obstacles that you will have to overcome to reach the goal. Now again, not to overwhelm you, but so that you can make a plan. So list as many of these barriers or obstacles that you can think of. And once you've made that list, what you're going to do is devise how you're going to overcome each barrier or obstacle. So pause the video and do that, and then come back. Step 12 is related to obstacles or barriers, and these are thinking about the additional skills or knowledge that you might need to obtain to reach the goal. List as many of these as you can think of, and then for each of them, identify specific ways that you can gain those skills or gain the knowledge that you need. So that took care of strategy. Now let's work on structure. Step 13 is make a structure to accomplish your goal. So part of making the structure is to identify specific people, groups, or organizations whose cooperation you will need to accomplish your goal. Now, I'm assuming that most of you are postdocs or grad students. In addition to your advisor, who else do you need to get help from? It might be helpful for you to form an unofficial advisory committee. Find some additional mentors, maybe a team of 3 or 4 people who can help you towards this goal. So pause here and then start the video again for the next step. All right, step 14 is to make a checklist and a timeline. So all of those barriers that you listed, all of that additional skills and knowledge, all of those team members you need to bring on board, and turn them into specific objectives and milestones. And then you're going to prioritize the list to accomplish each of these objectives in a logical order. And also you want to put them onto your timeline. Now, one way that you can do this is to make a Gantt chart. So a Gantt chart looks kind of like this. I've just written up something as an example. Your chart might be a lot more extensive than this. It probably will. In this example, the goal is submit a manuscript on X project for publication to Journal of Cool Science by June 1st, 2022. So this is a SMART goal. It's specific. It tells exactly which manuscript is going to be submitted. It's measurable, so you can measure whether you have submitted it or not. It's a yes or no measurement. It's achievable depending on when you start it and if you have all of the experiments done. For this example, we're assuming that it is achievable. It's relevant. It's a writing goal. It's going to move this person towards their next career step. And it's time-bound because it has a specific date, June 1st, 2022. I've broken this down into milestones and put it onto a timeline. Objective 1 is to learn to make figures in R. So this person is going to take a beginner course in R in weeks 1 and 2, practice making figures in weeks 3 and 4, have the figures reviewed by Professor X in week 5, and then task 4 is to make the final figures in week 6. They have objective 2, write manuscript formatted for Journal of Cool Science. Task 1 is to write your scientific journal article course on YouTube. That's the course that I teach on YouTube. You can find that course and take it for free, and they've blocked out 9 weeks to do that. Task 2 is, in parallel, they're going to write a first draft of the manuscript. And then in task 3, they're going to get feedback from their advisor as they're writing, and that's happening in weeks 3 through 10. Finalize the manuscript in week 11 and submit it to the journal in week 12. This is an example. In reality, the person might need to have more objectives and tasks on the timeline. It might be a longer timeline, but this just shows you a way that you could sit down and make such a timeline. For step 15, you're going to create the environment that you need to achieve your goal. So think about the environment you have now. It includes the physical environment and it includes the mental environment. What kinds of space, equipment, lighting, sound control, and supplies do you need? If you work in a shared office like I did when I was doing my PhD and postdoc, maybe you need to get some noise-canceling headphones. Do you need to rearrange your desk? Or do you need to find a new place to write? The next point, do you need to spend more time around certain people who make your life better? Maybe you need to spend less time around certain people. People who are distracting you, who have different motivations and different values than you do. So find people that have the same values, they're on the same track, and you can motivate each other and build each other up. And you are part of your environment too. Do you need to change any of your attitudes, beliefs, or behaviors to allow yourself to move forward? So maybe you need to stop doing some things, maybe you need to start doing some things. Figure out how to build the environment that you need to be successful. Step 16 is a step that you don't do just once. You need to take daily action to achieve your goal.
Just do it! Make your dreams come true!
Remember, consistency is key. So if you're consistently moving forward every single day, do something to move you towards your goal.
Some people dream of success while you're gonna wake up and work hard at it.
And you'll get there. All right, I hope that was helpful. Thanks for watching and happy writing.